Thank you all for coming to our weekly news conference. Of course, we have some exciting new announcements, some updates to a few things, and then afterwards the mayor will take a few questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Mayor.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. As Melissa stated, we have a few exciting things to speak to you about and also some updates. Let's begin with the acknowledgement that today is the first day of school for our JPS scholars. I was excited to be at my daughter's school with the dads, high-fiving the little ones as they started the school year off. I pray that across the district, our students had a good first day or having a good first day, and it is the start of what is going to be a wonderful year for them. With that, we're also announcing our back to school giveaway, which is slightly behind the start of school, but still in time to provide them the much needed supplies that they can use throughout the school year. And that giveaway will be August 17th at the Jackson Zoo. Once again, the back to school giveaway will be August 17th. The admission is free. It is from 9 a.m. to noon. And it will be going while supplies last. So please get there. Maybe because we're a few days away off of the start of school, then you can get a better sense of what you need for the classroom when you come to the back to school giveaway. I want to thank all of the sponsors. We'll make sure that the list of those who donated is well published so that we can commend them on their generosity to our young scholars. Last council meeting, and I believe even the council meeting before, the subject of Entergy and lights that have been out in the city came up on a number of occasions. I believe one of our council members suggested that maybe the leadership or some leadership should speak to Entergy. And we were glad for that comment because we had already taken advantage of the opportunity to do so. Let me start by saying that Entergy first offered not only leadership from the city, from the county, state representatives, community leaders to be a part of a briefing that took place, I think maybe about 3 weeks ago or so, where they could give some updates to what their improvements in the system, some of the challenges that they deal with when it comes to emergency circumstances, how they deploy in those situations, but they wanted us to be aware. We then took advantage of asking if they would be available for a meeting with the administration. I think that was maybe a week later. And so we had an opportunity to talk with Entergy officials. And we spoke about the fact that we were looking to aid in the process of not only communicating to our residents the process of listing or notifying of a light that is out. And they informed us that they have an app, their Entergy app. And if you merely get close to the pole, it automatically populates the light that is out and gives them the information that they need in order to start the work. We also spoke about the fact that we wanted to see if we could compile a list of known outages or known lights that are out that need to be repaired, street lights that needed to be repaired. We said we wanted this list so that we'd have a sense of where we were starting so we would know what progress looked like. And so Entergy was more than willing to support us in that effort. And they have provided us with a preliminary list. Now, let me say this. They've already acknowledged that this is not a full and complete list, and they have more lights that they are aware of that they intend to populate on this list. But they're also asking that as this list is communicated, that residents give us information about the lights that they are out, that they know are out. That is not to say that people aren't doing their jobs, that people aren't willing to go around the city at night and during the day to know what lights need to be repaired. But it is to say that if you live in a community, you are the best person to advocate for the fact that the light outside of your home is off, right? You are the first person who is aware that that light is off. And so if you are in position in order to provide that information, then it makes all of our jobs a little easier in ensuring that you don't have to deal with that outage much longer. Through our conversation, we also talked about the fact that there are some lights that we may believe to be public street lights that are actually lights that at some point in time was requested and paid for on a private basis. And so having this information allows us to distinguish what is a public light that is out and what may be a light that is out because it was paid for by an individual who decided that on their own personal accord that they wanted to have a light placed in a certain location. And so I'd like to invite Entergy forward to share some details about this. But we're grateful for this list. We will publish this list and populate the list as we get more locations. All right. And this is Miss Victoria Love. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. You did a great job at that. But good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you, Mayor, for allowing us to be here and to amplify our streetlight reporting tool. Safety is a core value every day across every part of our business. We realize that streetlights play a very vital part of safety in our community. We have workers that patrol our main thoroughfares of our city at night and repair streetlights that are burnt out or broken. But we do strongly encourage citizens to report any streetlights that you all see out, and you can do that several different ways. You can download our Entergy mobile app and use the outage mapping tool to report streetlight outages. You'll find an icon of Entergy maintained streetlights. It's a clickable icon, which then reports the exact location of the light out to us. You can also report streetlight outages by dialing 1-800-9-OUTAGE. So you have multiple options to report those lights out. It's also important to remember that not all streetlights are maintained by Entergy. So if you are on the app and you do not see a streetlight listed or don't see that icon, you may need to reach out to the city because it may be maintained by the city. So we are asking that you all just help us get these street lights fixed. We do want to make sure lights are on because safety is a big concern for everyone. So we do want to make sure that lights are reported and that we are getting these lights repaired. All right, you're welcome.
I'd like to thank Ms. Love not only for being present here today to speak to these questions and the things that our residents have been asking, but I'd like to thank you for your cooperation along with the rest of the team at Entergy for supporting us in this effort. It has been, now she did just steal my list. Let me get that back. That's no problem. You know, one of the questions that came up in the council meeting was to ask, you know, it was stated, well, why do we need a list? I have come to learn that what gets measured gets done, right? What gets measured gets managed and ultimately gets done. And so we want to have a sense of where their information is. It's informative to our residents that if you don't see your street on here, then there is a chance that maybe Entergy is unaware of that particular light being out. And so that's why we wanted this information, and I'm certain that our residents will be grateful to you as well for this information. And it also lets you know the status of the lights that are listed here, that it is scheduled in many cases. They have a color-coded ledger that lets you know why the light is out. Maybe it's out for no power. Maybe it's out for another reason. And so I think that this is very helpful, and we look forward to publishing that to our residents. In addition, as always, we will also publish the traffic light outages that have been worked on over the last several weeks. We're grateful for the steady progress that has been made. Some of those are delayed longer than others for a need for parts, and we're waiting on those parts in order to complete those repairs. And so we thank both our in-house crews that have been working on that, as well as Lewis Electric that has been working on that as a part of a contractual agreement with the city of Jackson. Additionally, there's been a lot of discussion about our public safety areas around hot spots areas where we've seen frequent instances of violence or other crimes that are committed. I shared that more than a year ago, and even beyond that, we had a conversation with not only our police department, our fire department, and our planning department, and city legal around what we could do to address those locations that have had multiple 911 calls and incidents at those locations. And one of the establishments that frequents the list, or one type of establishment that frequents that list, are our gas stations. We know that there was an ordinance that the City Council passed. City Legal is working to fine-tune that and get that moving forward. But in the meantime, we're not waiting in order to make certain that we're doing all that we can to keep our residents safe and to eliminate any area of harm, any potential harm within our communities. And so, as always, our police department is stepping up. And so I'd like to call the police chief forward to talk about an initiative that they're launching with respect to our gas stations. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Good afternoon. Before I get started, I want to thank the mayor for his continued support for me and his continued support for the hardworking men and women of JPD. Thank you so much. They do an amazing job every single day, and your support means a lot to them and to me. As the mayor stated, we are not tone deaf to some of the issues that are happening around gas stations and convenience stores. I have visited many stores over the past 2 weeks, convenience stores and gas stations. I've met with around 30 business owners of those gas stations and convenience stores. And what is consistent across the board with citizens who visit those gas stations and the owners of those businesses, everybody wants to be safe. Safe. And that's our job. That's where we come into play. Starting today, we have an operation that is beginning called Operation Gas Up and Guns Down. Operation Gas Up and Guns Down. This detail will consist of officers from our operations division, traffic unit, detectives, training staff officers, admin staff, intelligence unit, community engagement, neighborhood enhancement. You will see a strong law enforcement presence around these businesses. I've had discussions with these business owners. We have to draw a line in the sand and say this is something that we will not tolerate. Because as I visited those businesses, there were people constantly in and out of those businesses. They're not hurting for business here in the city of Jackson, but we've got to make sure that our citizens are safe. I feel that we can have thriving businesses around the city of Jackson, but we have got to make sure that our citizens are safe as they visit these businesses. We'll be focusing on loitering, panhandling, trespassing, gang activity, drug activity. We'll be collecting intelligence information. We'll be doing field contacts on individuals just hanging around. We want to find out who they are and what is their business. People that are trespassing. I've challenged my police officers to get out of their cars. We will have sign-in sheets strategically placed inside some of these gas stations to make sure that our officers are getting outside of their cars, going inside these businesses. We've identified at least 4 stores per precinct. Some have more, but at least 4 stores per precinct that have a propensity for violence around it. Gun violence particularly. We will focus on those areas. We will make it safe for our citizens. And I want to be clear about this. We want our citizens to visit gas stations and convenience stores, but we want it to be an inconvenience for the criminal element. Thank you. Auction. I have Chief Griselle come up to talk about the auction. She turned the page quickly, right? All right? But I'll let Chief Griselle talk about this is his baby and he's focused a lot of attention on it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am so proud to say we finna finally have another auction for August the 24th at 8 o'clock a.m. This has been a long-term process putting together. Thank you, Mayor. And the auction will consist of 300 vehicles that has been advertised in 3 different locations, as well as Mississippi Link. And we already sent notification out for these vehicles, and these are recovered, abandoned properties and seized property vehicles that will be auctioned off. That's August the 24th at 8 a.m. The gates will open up. Registration is $10 per person. No one under 18 will be allowed to bid on any vehicle. You have to be 18 above and have a valid driver license when you register. It's going to be, okay, thank you. It's going to be at the city garage, which is, City Garage, which is on
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
smartphone and Micah Avalon Drive. We will have security on board, and it's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a very fun day and exciting day for us, for the Jackson Police Department. Any additional questions? All right, thank you.
Sounds like Siri is interested in bidding on one of those cars. So let me start first with Chief Wade. We thank him for his leadership and the men and women of the Jackson Police Department. To be clear, this is not a Johnny-come-lately initiative. This is part and parcel of our efforts that have been going on for multiple years now. Not only did we talk about gas stations for those that may be interested, we also talked about hotels that are a challenge within our city. That effort led to many of the environmental court cases that we've seen against hotels in our city, which our judges have been proactive. We had a discussion not only with our planning department, our police department, our fire department, our legal department. We also had a discussion with our municipal judges to let them know that this was an area of focus. And so that's why this work has been underway. And so this is just another step forward in that work. And so I'm grateful to our police department for this latest initiative that works alongside the work that has already been going on. I talked about the fact that we called many of these establishment owners to the police training academy some time ago. We looked up the 911 calls. We looked up the frequency, and we invited them so that they would be aware that there is a potential nuisance growing. That's how you establish a nuisance case. You don't just file it on day one. You have to lay the groundwork for a nuisance case. So I'm glad that the discussion has risen to other people, and they are now lifting it up. But we're not going to put forth a court case or a hearing on nuisance without having had the sufficient details and information so that when we bring it, we win, right? When we bring the case, we will win. So all of those business owners, many of which, and I want to be clear, many of which elected not to come, right? And sometimes when these unfortunate events happen, it's not only dangerous to our residents, these situations can be dangerous to the ownership of these establishments as well. And so our effort is for people to be able to do business in the city of Jackson, for them to be successful, but to make certain that in the process of them being successful, that our residents are secure. And so I'm grateful for that. And also I encourage people, we usually don't have trouble with people coming out to the auction. I encourage people to come out and participate. There are a lot of vehicles that people can get for a very low cost. The proceeds go to support the efforts and the operations of the Jackson Police Department. And so we're grateful for their work and the ability to support them in that work. So please come out. Not the last thing, almost the last thing. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about Hotel O. We shared that one of our municipal judges, or it was reported, made a ruling about its demolition. There has since been clarity on how that process is going to go forward. From this point on, we will have an order come before the City Council where the city council will, they will go through the step of declaring the nuisance and the public hazard of that particular property. We will leave it for our city attorney to speak further into that process. We're also going to be putting up a fence in order to not only protect residents or individuals from going into that property and suffering potential harm, but also to deal with the unsightliness of that particular structure at this time. So I'm grateful for our city attorney who's been working hard on this. I'm grateful to Judge Reynolds. I'm grateful to everyone who has labored to make certain that we eliminate this health hazard, this danger within our community, and move forward with its demolition in that process. Let me just inform you of two other things. First is the summer feeding program. I want to thank our Department of Human and Cultural Services. The summer feeding program ended last week, and they served over 700 meals this summer. They served over 700 meals to Jackson residents. This is critically important. One of the things that we learned through the various challenges that we had during our water circumstances was that when we were closing schools, some of the children that were attending those schools, some of the only meals that they could depend on were the meals that they were getting while they were in school. So these summer feeding programs are often highly utilized and very, very important to our Jackson residents, in particular our children. And so I'm grateful to our Human and Cultural Services Division for this work, along with the many other things that they accomplish, not only for our children, for our seniors, and for the cultural things that we all enjoy. The last reminder is that the Mayor's Cup, which is our golf tournament, the Mayor's Cup, is August 30th. I can assure you, I don't know who's going to win. I can assure you that I will perform terribly because I am a horrible golfer. But each year we have to turn people away because there is every golf cart is taken, and we take up every slot. So we look forward to everyone coming out, having a good time with that. I want to see men and women. I think we could have a few more women to participate in the golf tournament. And I've seen some of the ladies out hit the guys. So I need y'all to come out and have a good time. And the money goes to support our First Tee program that helps our young people learn about the sport of golf. And it also gives them other life skills that they can carry forward. So with that, that's what we have prepared for you, and we can take the questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
So when it comes to the ordinance for the gas stations to have security guards, so does it take effect, it's just not being enforced at this time?
I would leave that question to the city attorney's office because I really am not, I don't have the full information up onto that. I can tell you that they're working to tighten it up, as that's what they have expressed to us. But what we know already is that our police department is making certain that they are on the ground, that they have boots on the ground to ensure that people are safe while they're gassing up in the city. Okay.
It kind of goes without saying, a lot of residents visit these gas stations, have concerns about their safety. I guess just how much of a relief do you think it'll be to them when they have more boots on the ground?
Well, let me be clear, because I want to make certain that our residents know this, that gas stations around the country are always somewhat of a hot spot for illegal activity. That's why it's an area that our police department already focuses on. That's why there are several initiatives. There are other ordinances that have been proposed that, let me say now, before someone suggests otherwise, that I support and I want to see happen. One is a blue light camera ordinance, which we want to make certain that anything that we implement, that we can back up from the Constitution, right? That we're not in violation of the Constitution. And so having the blue light cameras will give us an eye on what's going on. It will allow for a more immediate response. Those blue light cameras are not intended, while we do in some instances run the camera back, it's not intended to just be a camera like the ones that many of these gas stations already have, that when an incident takes place, we later go back and rewind the tape and try to put the pieces together. These are cameras that help support our real-time, hence the word real-time command center, that gives an eye for our law enforcement to see what's happening and be able to track where that person is going and what they're doing in that moment. And so not only their efforts with the Gas Up, Guns Down initiative that Chief spoke about, coupled with other things like 21st century policing tools that help support our real-time command center, are all in an effort to make certain that our Jackson residents can get gas, and visitors, right? We want visitors to gas up. We want them to spend their money here in the city of Jackson, and we want to do all that we can to make certain that is a feasible pursuit for people to do. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Dolly Hall Turmeric closed due to early stage microbial activity of mold. Next, I've seen you seek to advance significant was the city's mold about when indicates to be early stages.
I'm going to let Mike Williams speak to this. I will say, and I think he's the best person to speak to this, I believe that there was a bit of hair on fire that made it look like that while it is in need of several repairs, that Thalia Morrow Hall was not a facility conducive for use. And I don't think that is actually the true facts of the circumstance. You want to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor. Could you please repeat the question?
I'm asking Dolly Hall Turmeric closed early stages of microbial activity. Picked up seems to draw significantly since that time. What indicates to be early stages?
That was the finding of the initial assessment from the remediation team that we brought out when the staff detected it. And they said that it is not what they would term mold and that it is early stage microbial growth. So that is the language that we received from the remediation team.
And related to HVAC system, whose job is to make sure that that's getting checked, and how long has that been down?
It is, of course, it's the city's job to make sure that it's checked. We work in partnership with Johnson Controls. We have been working on a replacement plan for the HVAC system for some months now. We're doing a full replacement, and so as we go through the time period between now and that full replacement, we're just trying to make sure that all the bolts stay in. And we just had just an outage. Basically, it was a controls outage, and we got Johnson Controls to come out and assess it. But during that time, we discovered the microbial growth, and so we're working in concert with Johnson Controls to make sure that the proper order of operations is followed so that we don't spread any potential microbial growth. So all of them are working in concert to make sure that we do everything in accordance with regulations.
If I can, I'm going to get your question. You might want to stand by. So to be clear, the microbial growth, this isn't something that has been moving or has been growing for months and months on end. What happened is the weekend before the growth was noticed, there was a malfunction with the air conditioning unit, the HVAC unit, that led to the conditions being conducive for that growth. And so immediately, the next week, when people returned back to work because there were no events that weekend at Thalia Morrow Hall, Mike Williams immediately responded, his team immediately responded, and so they were doing exactly what they're supposed to do. When an event happens, then you're supposed to respond. We live in Jackson, Mississippi, so I am certain that everybody is familiar in their own homes of air conditioning units going out. You might be surprised, but the same thing happens for a facility like Thalia Morrow Hall. Now, that air conditioning unit has not been operating at full capacity for some time. And so many residents don't notice is because it has become a part of their practice that they supplement the work of the air conditioning, the HVAC system, with chillers. They do this according to the schedule of events that happen at Thalia Morrow Hall. So this is not something that we're unfamiliar with. Nobody will sleep at the wheel. This is something that they prepare for in the events that they put forth. Unfortunately, a weekend ago, there was an additional malfunction, and accordingly they responded. And as Mike said, that there are additional plans to address the long-term needs of that HVAC system, along with other things within Thalia Morrow Hall. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any update as far as when the hall will be open again? I know there's an event scheduled now for Saturday. Is there anything else?
No, we're working with our performance partners, of course. That's Arden Land Show. Arden has moved that to the Coliseum, I believe, and he's ready to field all questions about any of the upcoming rescheduling at Arden Land's number. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's online. Yeah, but we don't have a timeline just yet because all of it kind of depends on what comes out of the testing protocols or the protocols that the testing prescribes. So we don't have a timeline yet, but we're working on it very expediently and treating it very urgently.
One of the other tests to be performed that we talked about was on the rigging system. So like one of the performances or one of the contracts we have is with Off-Broadway. Is it Off-Broadway?
Innovation Art.
Innovation Art.
They're a Broadway.
But they do Broadway performances. So something like a Kevin Hart performance, we don't anticipate him flying through the sky at Thalia Hall. The rigging would not be as important to that type of performance as it would be to maybe one of our Broadway performances where the scene behind the stage has to be properly set up. And so we're also waiting on the rigging specialist or an engineer who can talk about the load bearing of our rigging system and give us proper load assessments before we move forward. So those are the tests that are underway. Yes, sir.
So do you think it'll be open by the time Kevin Hart comes to Jackson?
That is our sincere hope, and that is the belief of our performance partners. But of course, we have to make sure that we're ensuring the safety of everybody involved, and that will be dependent upon the outcomes of our engineers' reports.
I certainly hope so. I plan on being there. So,
Everybody hopes so.
all right, I'm going to come here and then back to you. Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Stokes had a question today, and he said he wanted to propose that departments within the city merge to create more money for the police department. How would you feel about that? And two-part question, we know that there's a nationwide shortage of police officers, not just unique to Jackson. So do you think more money would actually solve the issue?
Well, I believe that there are discussions that are taking place already about making sure that the Jackson Police Department is competitive within this market. And so we're trying to do everything that we can to ensure that we remain competitive. Our police chief is focused on the men and women who work under him. And so he's been a part of the conversations along with the rest of the executive team. And so we are going to work out the pull and tug of that and what that looks like. I won't summarily dismiss what Councilman Stokes has offered. I have not had the benefit of seeing his press conference, so I don't know what he's suggesting. I will tell you that I am hard-pressed in identifying how the elimination of departments supports the police department, because much of the work that those departments do actually aid the police department and other departments. HR is here as a function of supporting the workforce of the city of Jackson. Can't eliminate HR. The city attorney's office is there to make certain that they work on contracts that the police department and every other division need to deploy. I can tell you as an attorney that this whole notion of privatizing and going to a firm instead of maintaining our city attorney's office is utterly ridiculous. There is no private city attorney's office, right, that is going to be cheaper than the ones that are employed by the city attorney's office. Those firms work off of hours, right? And so the more hours that they put out, the more easily that they are paid. And so if you prescribe a certain limit, if you say, well, we only want to spend $5 million, that doesn't mean that you get everything done that you need to get done for $5 million. All that means is this is as far as your money is going to take you. And once that $5 million is burnt out, then you need to find out how you're going to supplement the rest of the legal services that you need. So I know that that has been suggested in the past, and I don't think that you will have any attorney who has worked on an hourly billing cycle that will tell you that it is likely to be cheaper going that route. Many residents, if you've ever hired an attorney, had to do that, then you would know yourself that doesn't seem to add up. All right. Yes, sir.
I just about the traffic light project. How much does that project cost, and where's the funding coming from?
So from multiple services, I can't tell you as I stand here today what the exact cost, because I just don't remember. It was a contract that was passed a while ago, but it is happening in one of two ways. We have the contract with Lewis Electric that is identifying certain lights that we need added support, and then there are some of those lights, many of those lights, that we're actually doing in-house. So it just depends on the condition. It is a little more work if someone hit the light and we need a whole new cabinet and everything needs to be reset versus one where maybe a board went out and we just need to get a new board, or in some instances we can cannibalize other areas or that we don't use that equipment anymore and take it to the lights that we do need to use it. So it's working both in-house and on contract at the same time. All right. Thank y'all very much. I pray everyone has a safe week.